to the G2K podcast. This is episode number 5, and I'm here with my good friend Ariel.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
What's your last name again? Niu?
Niu.
Ariel Niu.
Of New Views.
What's up?
I'm good. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday,
I'm
right before the holidays.
Be here. Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Of course. I feel honored.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. I
Yeah.
keep mentioning that in all the podcasts.
Until
this
it's
is
your
just the
100th
beginning. Once it's the 100th podcast, I'll be like, all right, it's just the midpoint.
Now we're getting into things.
Now we're getting into things. But yeah, appreciate you coming by. Thank you. So yeah, today we're getting to know Ariel. How did I meet you? I met you through Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So
Osa.
that was like what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty soon after I moved to Toronto.
Nice. So how long? So you were born and raised in?
I was born in Taiwan.
Okay.
But I grew up most of my life in Vancouver.
So how old were you when you left Taiwan?
6.
6?
6.5. Yeah.
Okay. And then from Vancouver, you came to Toronto?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to school and stuff in Vancouver? Or?
Yeah, I was there for most of my life pretty much, and I started my career there, but like
Your career, which was what?
Digital marketing.
Nice. Oh, so you did that from the get-go.
Yeah. I started with social media and then went into like general digital marketing, and then found out that I really liked email marketing, so I started to do like a niche in that. So
Nice.
my focus is email marketing and SMS marketing.
Is that something that you knew you were going to do from the beginning, or?
I was always interested in marketing, but even to this day, I don't think like it's my true passion. I like what I do, and I think my skill set is very good. Like I can, find a job, keep a job. I always have opportunities. I think it's great to help me make a living, but it's not really what I'm truly passionate about. But
So is that something you're still searching, or?
I'm already doing things now that's definitely connected to my true passions, but I've just recently started a lot of these things.
So these are, so tell the viewers what these things are.
Okay. So I'm New Views. Okay,
New
follow
Views?
me on Instagram. New Views.
So yeah, whatever you shout out on the video, I'll post the links.
Okay,
and
you better.
everything. You better. Sponsored by.
NIU.VIEWS, New Views.
Alright. So can you
So
explain
yeah, so
what
then
that is?
let me just back it up a bit, okay?
Alright.
So I grew up in Vancouver, but then I had a great life, great friends, great job, but I felt like I was living the same routine life over and over every single day. I wasn't really doing anything new. All my friends, we were always doing the same things. It was good. It was fun and everything, but I just always felt like I wanted to do more and see more and meet more people. And it was strange because so many of my friends and people I knew around me didn't feel the same. So for a long time, I was just questioning myself a lot. And then I made the big decision to move to Toronto, and it was the best decision I've made. But then coming to Toronto, I felt like I've been here 2.5 years now, but I felt like the first year was a lot of exploration for me and just like having fun, exploring the city, doing a lot of things. But I still had that like innate desire to really figure out what I'm truly passionate about and what I want to do beyond just my 9-to-5 job,
Right.
So then around a year ago, that's when I decided I want to start blogging. So then that's when I created New Views. But it started as a food blog. It was easy to get into the food blogging space. But then now my content is more focused. Well, I'm trying to direct it to be more focused on like spirituality and self-development. I have reasons for that. Should I continue or do?
Let's backtrack a bit once again. So in regards to the lifestyle of Vancouver, so what were the environmental factors, I guess, that led you to be so different from everyone else in terms of seeking something that was much more, I guess, an expansive mindset, right? Because what was that spark that made you, I guess, think differently than most people?
Yeah, that's a good
Like,
question.
is that something that you're, I don't know, it's like an instinctual, innate thing that you're born with,
Yeah.
or like a curiosity? Because I'm starting to notice patterns even with myself and the people that I associate with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's the comfort zone people that
Yeah,
just
yeah.
live life on cruise control,
Yeah.
and then there's the people that are
Nothing
like,
wrong with that, by the
yeah,
way.
there's
but-
nothing wrong with that. And then there's the people that are like, no, I have to take it up a notch. Like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
next? Like, I need to grow.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I think it's a bit of both. Like, it was definitely there's something within me innately.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like in my soul that was just seeking more, and I was like, this sounds crazy, well, not crazy, but it sounds.
Was there
I don't know, kinda
was
out
there
there.
a catalyst? Like,
Well, yeah, I was just in a lot of situations in my life that it wasn't really going anywhere. Well, that's a bad way to say it. It wasn't that, but like I just didn't feel, I wasn't fulfilled. But I
Okay.
didn't really know why I wasn't fulfilled.
Mhm.
That's part of the reason. But the other thing is, I think it's always been my soul that I've always had this feeling that I had a bigger purpose. And I'm
Right.
still trying to figure that out even now. But I feel like everything I'm doing now in my life is leading me towards that.
Right.
But before I wasn't at all. So that was just kept picking at me when I was in Vancouver.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, when you started off, I guess, pursuing that, what steps did you take? Or was it just like an instant thing or a gradual
No.
progression?
That's a good question too. So I actually came to Toronto like, no, I don't even know, like 6 years ago.
Mhm.
My first time here, and I came with that thought. But then it was more work focused because I was like, I have this feeling that I don't feel super fulfilled, but you know, maybe I want to come here and work here for a bit. So I came here, and I had a good friend that lived here. So I stayed with her for a week, and I actually did go to a bunch of companies and like had interviews. Well, I had informational interviews. I was just kind of like seeking things out or testing the waters. But right when I got back to Vancouver, I got a job offer, and I guess like it was an easy choice, so I just took it. So I already had thoughts then, but I never went through with it. And I guess ever since then, it kept picking at me more and more. And then at one point, I think it just became really overwhelming. And I just kind of, I remember, I don't remember exactly how I came to make the final decision, but I do remember the time when I decided, okay, I'm going to do it. And after I decided, my whole year, pretty much all of 2017, before I moved to Toronto, I moved here in September of 2017. My whole world was just like me planning to move to Toronto. I was very committed after I made the decision.
Were your parents supportive of that? Family?
Yeah, I think everyone was a little bit like surprised, I guess. Well, not really surprised. They were just like, oh, you made such a big decision really fast. But
Right.
they were supportive. Everyone was supportive. All my friends were supportive.
So the rest of your family is still in Vancouver?
My mom, my brother.
Okay.
Most of them are in Taiwan.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Would you go back to Taiwan?
I go back more frequently now because my grandparents are getting old. I'm going back again in March.
Okay.
But to live,
To live?
probably
Not.
not. Yeah.
Once
I'm
you-
not used to the Asian.
Well, you left when you were 6. So
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
I
this-
love it. I love to visit,
Yeah.
but the lifestyle I can't get used to.
Like when I asked Jason, he's like, I need to go with him to see that lifestyle because it's much
Yeah,
different, but
it
he
is
still
very
enjoys
different.
it.
Did
Like,
he say he would move back? He could probably. He's been
yeah,
in
I
Taiwan for a
think-
long time.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
went to high school.
Yeah,
college.
he's like, yeah.
So he's more adaptable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then you came here, started doing your marketing stuff. Was it hard to get established in Toronto, or?
No, so because when I first moved here, I was really lucky. I've always been really lucky with work. So when I first moved here, I was still at the company I was with when I was in Vancouver. I was at a consulting company, and they had an office here too. So they just let me move over here.
Okay.
And it was a great company, but then after a while, it got being a consultant is super stressful. You have clients, and like they're so demanding. And I was working in a tech space, so it was you needed like technical skill set, really good technical skill set, really solid foundations, and then my background is more strategic digital marketing, so it was hard for me to like always keep up too.
Okay.
But I'm so thankful for that job. But anyways, it got kind of overwhelming, so I left that job and I started at another startup company.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? I was working at this like microblading company for like 3-4 months, and it was torture.
In what sense? You have some horror stories?
It was just.
Or you don't want a bad name.
Okay, like it was a great.
job.
It was a great experience,
Okay.
but it was a startup and it was ran by like a husband and wife team,
Mm-hmm.
and I just feel like they weren't really ready to bring more people on, and they didn't really have a good idea of what they wanted from me either. So in the end, they were confused as to what they wanted me to do. I was confused as to what I was trying to do.
From a marketing perspective?
Yeah, marketing, but they were starting to tell me to do other things too. So it just didn't really work. It was honestly, it was pretty complicated, and it was a pretty difficult time for me. So so I just left the company like within 3 months. But it all turned around because I was unemployed for 2 months after by choice.
Okay.
I was looking for a job, so I wasn't rushing it. But that was also when I decided to start blogging, because I was, I was down and I was thinking like I put so much of my energy and time into my day job, my 9 to 5.
Right.
And I'm a hard worker too, and then I'm the type where like once I get into the zone, no matter what I'm doing, I want to put my all into
100%,
it.
yeah.
So, but then I realized, I'm like, why am I using most of my energy in my day on
someone else's
company? And then like I put so much into it, and I'm like, I'm kind of like wasting my life. So, and I've always been creative, but even though marketing is kind of creative, I just felt like I've been, like when I was young, my mom used to put me in like the arts. I love like singing, dancing, like music as well, but I stopped doing that when I got older too. So I just felt like I wasn't doing anything that I truly loved. So I started blogging as a creative outlet, but I started to do a lot of the other things on the side, just as my own hobbies to fulfill those needs too. So during that time, I started doing all that. But then it came full circle because the recruiter that found me for my current company was working with the company I quit from, the startup company. So it was actually my boss from that startup company that referred me to the recruiter.
Gotcha.
So I'm still thankful for that job and him and everything, because it all worked out. So yeah.
And then so through the blogging and everything, you started off as, I guess, food reviews, wine reviews. And then now it's kind of shifting towards the spiritual side of things.
Yes.
So where does that connection come in?
So I started food reviewing because it was easy, and then the wine reviews was kind of just like a random idea I had. I still sometimes do it, but I don't feel like, again, I feel like because I took all these steps to come to Toronto, and now I'm like trying to do a lot of soul searching, whatever. I'm making so many changes in my life. I feel like with everything I do now, I really think about like the reason and the intention of why I'm doing these things.
Right.
Because I forget sometimes. My brain, once I start to do something, I'm very structured and organized. So once I decide or commit to something, I start to execute, and I kind of don't think about anything else beyond that. But then sometimes that gets me in trouble, because I will start to do things and then I forget about why I started doing it, so I end up doing a lot of like stupid things.
Right?
Yeah. So I have to like continue to reflect and refine and make sure I'm being intentional and conscious and aware of everything I do, so I remember. So then that's why when I was doing the food blogging and the wine reviews and things like that, I started to feel like it was starting to feel like work. And that's when I was like, honestly, I love food, but I'm not a foodie really. I don't care that much about food. I actually care more about like healthy food,
right?
Because
care about it, but not to the point where you're gonna become that person that just solely
I'm just not like, because
themselves around.
After I started food blogging, I met a lot of food bloggers, and they're like intense. They're like foodies. They just like love food, and their life is just like food, and they really want to like go to restaurants and eat for free and things like that. And that's great and all, but it's not. I don't care. It's not
It's not as fulfilling as you thought it was
like
when you first jumped in.
And then the thing is, when I first started doing it, I did get absorbed into that. Like, I was getting like offers to go for tastings. I was like, this is great. I get to do things for free all the time. But then after, I was like doing too much, and I was like, honestly, this isn't really making me happy. And in parallel, that's when I was starting to think, you know what, like with what I blog, I should really try to tie it to things I really love doing in my personal life.
Right.
And then I started thinking about the reason I've been getting more and more spiritual the past 2 years. And I think the trigger of that was because of a lot of personal experiences I've gone through in my life that were difficult and painful. And I felt like, I think like through those experiences, you start to turn to things, you know?
Well, you're more susceptible and open to different ways of thinking, but in a reflective way, like, how can I grow from this?
Exactly. Okay, so that's a good point. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's like partially me going through a lot of painful moments, so I would, I want to search for things that will give me hope and things to think about. But also, I changed a lot as a human too. I feel like me, when I was in high school, I was like such a bitch. I just felt like I was very immature. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was a lot of I was a very good person.
You weren't open, I guess, minded.
I wasn't open-minded. I was just I was very easily influenced and conditioned to whatever I thought society would like from me, or like I just had this like,
But your set and environment play a huge role in that regard too, right? Like who you surround yourself with, the society you're raised in, media, your friends.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just
But in the midst of all that, did you still have that hint of
for sure,
this is not me?
Yeah. So I think that's why I always held on to it, because I would be like, I guess like an example is in high school, I would judge people a lot.
Right.
I would just like, and it was just like, it became such a habit, so I would just like talk bad about people, or like, and I'm nice to most people, but I just had this like stigma where I just like wasn't very open. But it worked against me too, because it also meant that like when I wasn't around my friends, I wasn't as comfortable just like approaching strangers or people I didn't know well to hang out with them, because I just thought it wasn't a thing. Like I just thought you had to be cliquey,
Right.
But there was a part of me that always felt like I didn't like it though. Even though I was doing it, I didn't like it. And then the older I got,
felt fake.
Yeah, it felt fake, but I wasn't courageous enough, and I wasn't confident enough to
comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, and then also to like stand up for myself, and also stand up to things that I didn't agree to that might be an unpopular opinion amongst like whoever I was with, right?
Because I think it's ingrained in our natural like instincts to like blend in and become a part of a community. And as soon as you rebel, like if you're comfortable in your own skin, and I experienced exactly what you're talking about as well. Like growing up, same thing. It's like you try to fit in, you kind of go into all these different groups of people, and then you realize, okay, I'm pretending, like I don't feel genuine. Like as much as I like these people, like this feels off. But then as you grow older, you realize that these people are just, they have masks on, or they're pretending to be someone who they're not.
Yeah.
And they don't, like you mentioned, they don't have the courage to step out of that self-image that the society has portrayed, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then, so you start to dive inward, but in doing so, it's a lonely place as well, because
that's true.
It's very difficult to find like-minded individuals, and most of society is that type of, they're on that wavelength where party, drink, just surface level. Not to blame them or point fingers or judge, but they haven't opened their eyes to like different aspects of reality. But if they're happy, cool. But from my experience, most of them aren't happy, right? And they seek that kind of stuff, or that fulfillment, that void is always lingering within them.
100%.
So that's probably one of the reasons why you started doing your spiritual vlogs and everything too, right? Because we're naturally inclined to open other people's eyes to that kind of stuff, because when you know that you've been in that position before and the suffering that's associated with that, and you know the answers and how to pull someone out of that, whatever it is, existential crisis or suffering from like trauma or whatever, you want to reach out and help them. It's like,
For
hey, listen.
sure.
And that's kind of why I started doing the breathing meditations and teaching that kind of stuff. Because, like, listen, are you present? No. Are you stuck in your head? Are you a neurotic person by nature? I can help you.
Yeah.
And then they're like, how? It's like, just take 10 deep breaths and watch what happens.
Yeah.
And then you explain the science behind it too. And then they're like, holy shit. And then they kind of get hooked.
Yeah.
Right? So, well, no, I love it. Like, all this subject matter is like,
for sure. And like, if you're right, I feel like most people are not quote unquote like awake,
right?
And nothing to, and when I say all this, like, for example, like people I knew in Vancouver or whatever, there's nothing to blame for that, because I feel like most of the world is not awake yet.
100%.
But I just needed to figure it out for myself. And there, you can, everything that like happens to you and you are not happy about, you really can't really blame anyone except yourself. Well, not you're not blaming yourself either, but the only way to change is to change yourself. So I just, came to Toronto,
get rid
new
of that
environment.
victim mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the spirituality, like, I started getting really into spirituality myself, but then I think like once you're awakened, your
quality of life increases, right?
Yeah, and it's I feel like the whole point for us to start waking up is for the people that are woken up to help others wake up too, to help the world realize like who their true selves are, what consciousness really is, how to be present and aware and intentional in your everyday life.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. So I just feel like it's our responsibility. And I already told you, I feel like something to do with I have a lot of different passions, but one part of my purpose in this world, in this life, I think is to
open
be a
people's
part of
fucking
this.
eyes.
Yeah, seriously. That's why I'm trying to do it now. Yeah.
I'm on the same boat.
The thing is, you're already really good. He's already really good at you're naturally good at like teaching and explaining. He's very calm and he just like says shit and it sounds like intelligent, but sometimes
it sounds intelligent.
It is
it's
intelligent.
Not it just sounds
it is intelligent, but so, like my brain is like this all the time. I'm spiritual and I'm like oh, consciousness or whatever, but I'm like this all the time, like go. So I will like skip around a lot and my brain is just on fire all the time.
I think if I don't go to the gym, I'm gonna be the same way.
I go to the gym, okay?
Or I tame myself.
I work out every day, but I think it's because I have so much energy. I need ways to like burn things off. But what was I say? But so I think the other reason why I really want to actually blog and vlog about all of this too is because this is the best way for me to improve too, for me to learn as fast as I can, and also for me to share this knowledge as best as I can. When you're a teacher of something, it helps you learn even
exactly,
faster
because you have to practice what you preach as well.
Exactly.
And yeah, the way that if you're portraying something and I guess you're not doing what you're saying, it's kind of hypocritical.
Yes, it keeps you what's the word? Keeps you accountable to your actions and behaviors
right.
too. Yeah.
And that's a good way to keep yourself, I guess, on the right path of whatever it is, like even work-wise or whatever you set your mind to. If I've mentioned this in another podcast, if you portray it to other people like, hey, listen, I'm going to do this, and this. That pressure, as much, is going to be bad pressure at first, but it's going to keep you accountable, and you're going to keep going, and then you're going to thank yourself for being open about it. Versus, that's another thing too in terms of ideas and all that kind of stuff. So knowing you're very inspirational and motivational in that sense, where you're always executing on things, you're doing things. Like a lot of people, they think a lot about plans and what they want to do, but they never manifest anything. And the reason is because either they don't have the courage to do so, or they don't, I guess, break it down in a way where it becomes something that's easily executable. And most people I talk to, they have these grandiose ideas, or they have these ideas that they want to do, or projects or whatever, but they never end up doing it. But then they suffer because they're guilt tripping the shit out of themselves for not doing it. And then it's like a constant infinite loop of just suffering. And it's like, why are you doing this to yourself? Just literally write it down and like start at step one, right? But I guess it's easier said than done, right? Do you have any people that you look up to in terms of videos and like vlogs or anything like that?
Yes,
like
I
spiritual? Because that's one of the reasons why like I started the podcast, and I want to start like something like that. What you're doing in terms of, because there have been people like that have gotten me through like tough times.
Yeah, for sure.
When I was growing up, and then knowing how beneficial that is in terms of helping others, like you want to kind of give your service to the public in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a ton, but you're that's something else you're really good at. I'm like, even though I see, I have so much in my mind I don't want to say at the same time.
Take a deep breath.
I know. I've always been a type of person to absorb as much knowledge and information from all sources as possible, but I never remember, or I never like idolize anyone. So this goes back to like grade school, celebrities, superstars, singers, movie stars, whatever. I was never the girl that like hung posters of boy bands or whatever. I didn't really care. I like songs, and then certain times I'll be like, oh, that's a great picture of the Backstreet Boys or whatever, but I wouldn't like obsess over them, and I wouldn't really remember specific details on any of them.
Do you know why though? Because I'm the same.
But then, okay, well, I was gonna say like that carries out to everything else in my life. So even like spiritual masters, now I'm a lot better. So I feel like as long as I commit to it, and because now I want to commit to like helping others too, I need to really know my shit, right? So I'm gonna commit to it, but
you don't idolize anyone. That's the thing, right?
Well,
like, having role models versus someone that you idolize are like two different
that's
things,
true.
right?
I still don't idolize anyone, but I do have. I'm slowly to, especially in the spiritual realm, just like know my stuff and the people and who I look up to better. I need to, but when I first started, when I was like, I've been super spiritual for a while now, and I always do a ton of research. Like when I'm at home and I'm bored and I'm not doing anything else, my mind goes to all this stuff like spirituality, and then like I always try to connect science and spirituality, because I feel like if we can have more evidence or like research in this realm, then maybe we can use this to help convert some more people that are really, you know, they just need proof or something, even though that shouldn't be the way to go. Yeah. But maybe.
Convert the people.
I know, that sounds really culty, right? Yeah, so when I was firstly into it, I didn't know anyone really, and then you kind of helped me through that, so now I know a lot more people, and I started following a lot more people, so I can definitely name a bunch of people now that I really do admire. So one person I do want to say, because I hope to meet you one day, Russell Brand, listen to me.
One day this will reach Russell Brand.
No, I swear, Russell Brand, if I meet you, we will have such great conversations, because I feel like you're kind of like, you will get me. Because the other thing
well, he's the type of person that's literally had everything in terms of life, or he experienced everything, but he has an addictive personality as well. Yeah. And then he's converted all that into a more spiritual.
Yeah, he's amazing. But the other thing is like, I want to teach others or help others, but I feel like so many spiritual gurus are very serious and like stoic and like calm and like whatever. That's great, and you know, they have a ton of followers, but my personality, like I mentioned, I'm like energized, and I love to I like to have a good time. I like to like have fun too, and I'm kind of quirky and weird sometimes, so I want to be different in the sense that like I want to be able, and I believe this is true, like I feel like people have this thought that like to be spiritual you have to be like, you know, Buddha and like calm and like boring and like whatever.
Not true.
No, not true. Spirituality is just like a mindset. It's not even like you can't even box it in. It's everything in life once you realize it. So you can be whatever. You can still have fun. You can still swear, and you can do things. It's just like your behaviors and how you think and view things.
Being mindful and having a deeper level of awareness, but having an open mind to accepting different trains of thoughts and perspectives.
Yeah,
right?
so I want to be kind of like a eccentric spiritual teacher, you know? But anyway, so Russell Brand, I feel like he gets that. He would, because I watch his vlogs, and he's very interesting. So when you watch his vlogs, you get kind of like sucked into it, and then you don't want to like turn away. He just has he's so eloquent.
Yeah, he's an energizer bunny.
Yeah, he's an energizer. Yeah, he's like an energizer bunny. If you guys watch Hot Ones, I told you to watch Hot Ones with Russell Brand, right? Yo, he speaks so fast in that video.
Imagine how fast his brain is going.
I know, right? Like, like I think my brain is fast. This is crazy.
Right.
But anyways, I do love him because he completely turned his life around. He just has so many He shares so many good thoughts, and he puts it in very simple. Like with his vlogs, he always talks about like very relatable subjects in everyday life.
Right.
Another person I really like is on your table.
Mr. Joe Dispenza.
Yes. He's amazing because he always talks about the scientific and spiritual, how science and spirituality like blends together. He talks about like quantum physics, which I think is tied to spirituality as well, and all that. So I really love watching his videos and reading up about on his work too. He has this like workshop I want to take.
I've seen it.
Yeah. I might
yeah,
take
his story is interesting. He got injured at one point, and the doctors, I think, told him like he couldn't walk or anything anymore.
Really?
Like a spine injury. And then that's when he like dove into all the mindfulness, because he started visualizing parts of his spine healing.
Oh yeah, he always talks about that. How
and
you can heal
like
yourself.
the placebo effect, right? So there's a lot of things that science doesn't quite understand yet, because we don't have the tools to measure that kind of stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. Like even the placebo effect in general, like giving a sugar pill to like, and the sugar pill in some cases like have more success rate than the actual medication.
Yeah, I
which
believe
is
that too.
Crazy if you think about it. And then the way he describes it, and this resonates a lot with me too, is like, for example, like if you're depressed and you're always in a negative state of mind, and you can get sick from being in that state of mind, like you're more prone, your immune system is low. Why can't the opposite be true? Right?
Yeah.
So if you're positive, uplifted, why can't you heal yourself?
That's true.
Why can't you? It's pretty much the polar opposite of getting sick. Like cancer and stuff sometimes stems from like your body being in a very toxic state or whatever. People that are very depressed, and like your cells are pretty much like, okay, we don't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
Not to say that's how cancer is, but I'm saying people that are when they're overly stressed, usually they're more prone to getting sick or having serious diseases. So that being said, the opposite is probably true too.
I believe it. When I was in Taiwan this last time I was back, just like a few months ago, my grandma on my dad's side, she's 70, how old is she, like 78 or 80? I think she's 80. No, I think she's 82 or something. She still drives. She walks, she works, she goes traveling all the time. She's always with her friends. She does like everything. She doesn't look 80 at all. And I was talking to her, and she was like, honestly, every time I feel bad, I try not to go to a doctor, because I just don't think about it. I focus on eating healthy, working out well, and I try not to worry, and it always goes away.
Right.
And listening to her say that, I feel like she's not spiritual, but that's her mindset. Like she just tries to like not worry and focus on, you know, whatever's happening, and then just try to like manifest the good and focus on the good, and it just goes away by itself.
And no, there's science behind that kind of stuff too. Like when you're stressed or whatever, you're in that like sympathetic state of mind where cortisol levels are up, adrenaline is always pumping. There's always a lion hiding in the grass. So if you're like that for weeks and months and years, of course your body is gonna shut. If you're not even taking a deep breath in, and there's no blood flow to like vital organs. Everything is, your hormones are gonna get all out of whack, and then of course you're gonna get sick. So when it comes to those kind of people where they are relaxed, it's like they're breathing deeply, they're more creative, they're more loving, they're more present, because your whole physiology is in a state of like everything is synthesized and in harmony. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I totally believe it.
And that's why we're here. We have to preach the word. Join the cult.
Have you heard of Terrence McKenna?
Yeah,
you
of
must
course.
have.
Yeah,
I
Alan
really
Watts
like him too.
and Terrence McKenna.
Yes. Oh, Alan Watts. I love him too.
They have some very, very interesting
They're really into
talks.
psychedelics, plant medicines.
Yeah, so
they
those
know their
guys
shit.
have gone deep in that sense. They're
they're
very intelligent, very well spoken, but they've dove into hardcore psychedelics. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Eventually, maybe, but
it's gonna change your world.
But even the mind.
You don't abuse it.
Don't take drugs. Don't take drugs. No, but even the mind itself is like so, I don't know. Like when you think about it, like there's some days I wake up and like the voices, like how you talk to yourself, how you convince yourself of like I need to do this, this, and this, and then sometimes you're like, no, I don't want to do that. And then there's like a duality, and it's like, am I crazy? There's two voices in my head. Like who's in charge of what? And I have a story in regards to that. The first time, like, I came to that conclusion, and Eckhart Tolle talks about that too, the Power of Now guy. Yeah. So he talks about that in his book. And I had a sensory deprivation tank experience.
Have you done a float?
Yeah, that's what it is, a float tank.
Oh, I want to do it.
So this was a pod. You get in, and most people already know from the Joe Rogan podcast. That's what led me on to it. It's like a pod. The water is the same temperature as your skin, so is the air, and it's pitch black. You can't hear anything, so you get fully naked, and you put like this wax in your ears so the salt water doesn't go in, and then you just float. So you're buoyant in the water, and you don't sink. And then you'll notice specific parts of your body that hold more tension, because that's the only time where you're literally just, you feel weightless.
Yeah.
And then your mind is trying to perceive where you are in time and space, but it can't, because the water is the same temperature as your skin. And so is the air. So, and you can't see anything. And it's just quiet. So it's the only time where your brain has that no input. That's sensory deprivation, right? So while I was in there, I was doing breathing exercises, trying to get myself more relaxed, and it was a 60-minute session. So while I was in there, this was on Danforth, it's called Float Labs. So I was there floating, and then your mind starts to wander.
And
you
there's
start
salt
to,
in the tank, right?
There's Epsom salts.
Yeah, it's Epsom salt.
So there's, I don't know how many pounds of Epsom salts it takes.
But that makes you like...
It's good for you as well, as just like your magnesium and all that kind of stuff. But so you're floating in that, and then I kept breathing and trying to relax and like just let go and reach that deeper state of relaxation. As I was doing that, my breath was causing humidity like in the tank, and water was starting to precipitate on the top of the tank, and the droplets were coming down. And I was like, okay, it's getting hot in here, but my mind was just finding reasons not to relax. And I'm like, I need to open the latch, like what if I can't breathe, like it's getting hot in here, like my mind started racing. And I'm not like fully conscious and aware, like in a half out, and then I'm like dude, relax, like just take it easy. And then I'm like, wait a second, who's talking to who right now, right?
Yeah, that's like Eckhart Tolle.
Right? And then once I did that, your mind just like shuts off. Like it just goes quiet. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then that's when I could sink deeper, because you just feel like unified.
I have something really random to say on that note though. I have this like recent theory that I'm still like, this is really just a theory, but and this idea came from one of my psychedelic trips, this message, but I do believe we are all one, right? Like we all come from this one source, and there is a collective consciousness that exists somewhere. I think that our thoughts and our consciousness, it is somehow connected to each other. There's some sort of connection there. But like the more I think about it, I'm like, what if, because you're right, I sometimes think about that now too. Like what Eckhart Tolle says in his book, Power Now too, all the time. He's like, you're not your mind. Yeah, you're not your mind, and he keeps observing himself, talking to himself, and he's like, who's that, right? So but as soon as you observe, it quiets down. Yeah. Like right now, if any of you listening, if you think of what your next thought is gonna be, you won't be able to, because you're aware of that thought. It kind of runs away. But then the thing is, it's like white noise in the background. Yes. But then where is that thought going? Where did it come from? And when I was thinking about that, I've had psychedelic trips where I've taken them for spiritual experiences, and I've had many messages come to me. And when in multiple trips, I remember I was just told, like not told, but I was getting messages and of the collective consciousness. Like I would reach a state where I felt other energies, and to this day, after all these experiences, I still question myself on whether it's all just in my head or if it's actually true. But at those moments, I actually felt other entities and energies and messages coming to me. And then the more I think about like collective consciousness, because I feel like in those moments I'm actually opening up a portal. That's what it felt like. I felt like I was entering a higher place where that was like the true, because every time I just like a lot of times after I come out of it, I forget most of it, but I do remember the feelings. I would always feel like, you kind of feel like embarrassed. I would reach that state and I would always be like, holy shit, oh yeah, how could I forget all of this? Like, I'm so embarrassed. Like, oh my God, I can't. And then I would start laughing because I'm like, oh, right, this is what it all really is. I just remember having those feelings all the time. And then, but then I do always like know that, oh, and then when I communicated with like other entities or whatever, it was from my mind. Like, I wasn't talking or anything, but I was just like, you were just feeling things, you felt it through your mind, like your consciousness. So in those moments, I really did feel like we are a collective. It felt like there was this like collective consciousness, and I was able to just focus on something, or an entity I focus on would come to me with the messages and I could communicate, but it would come and go, and you can like zoom in on like different things. So after coming out of that, even though it's still very confusing for me too, I kind of have a feeling, what if all of our minds, we are always like absorbing from the collective and we don't know it, and even us, because if you really let go of like the human mind and like what your all of our small pea-sized human brains can think of, if you really think about the possibilities, okay? Think about if we're just energetic beings and all the possibilities that can be, there's limitless possibilities, right? So it is very possible that like perhaps one human, we can have multiple layers and dimensions and levels of us, and maybe there's a part of us, we're not conscious in our state right now, but maybe there's a higher level of our consciousness that exists right now. Like there's a higher level of me that exists, so we all do in this earth. So maybe when I'm thinking and thoughts come into my mind, maybe it's all shared. Maybe it's like every single person on some level can hear me and give me thoughts, but I choose to take or receive them, and sometimes it's my own thoughts or whatever, but I kind of have a feeling that maybe we're just, when you have thoughts sometimes, it's like, it's from that collective, and like, sorry, I'm getting excited, but you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know.
To be, like, the way you put it, I feel like, so, our existence here right now, right? What makes you conscious and aware that you're here right now? Like in this room, on this couch.
I feel myself
your
here.
Senses, right? It's your sight, what you hear, what you feel. If you took all of that away, what would you be?
Everything?
Yeah, all of your five senses.
What are my five senses?
Sight, pretty much everything that you perceive reality with.
So does my brain still exist, my consciousness?
So taste, touch, hear, smell, feel, see, yeah.
I think I would still exist, but just as I'm here and nothing. You know?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Our brains are, in a way, an antenna, right? So if you think about it, like whatever sense you plug into that main hub, that's how you perceive things, right? I think we don't have the science, and this is just like my theory, and like other people have talked about this too. We don't have the way to measure those type of frequencies and stuff like that, and even our brains are kind of like antennas. Like
it is. No, I believe that.
There's some studies where, for example, they took like there's one study in particular. They took a married couple and they would send one person like thousands of kilometers away. Yeah. And then they asked like the woman, they like, think about your loved one. Without letting him know, the same parts of his brain were starting to light up.
Really?
Right. And it's like, why is that?
Yeah.
We don't have the tools to measure that yet. Is that real? Can that be fabricated? I don't know, but sometimes some things happen so coincidentally where I'm thinking about someone randomly and then they message me right away, or so it's like, am I picking up on the text message that's flying through the sky, and like is my brain receiving that information? And like,
so basically I'm right. I think I'm right.
So but there's more, there's a lot more to everything, and then in that regard, when it comes to the spirit, the soul, the collective consciousness, that can all be translated in that same perspective, but it's just ways of interpreting it, right?
No, I yes. And so, what you were just saying now and what I was just saying now, another person I admire, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, so
he's also, do you know?
Yeah, of course.
He was the one that said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy. And
well, everything is energy right now. Even right now, when we're speaking, everything like that, your brain is literally sending electric impulses, like neurons are fighting electricity.
Yeah.
we're electric beings, like we have energy in ourselves, right? And all of our cells are vibrating or whatever. And
that's why I love to study. I don't love to study quantum physics.
Do you understand quantum physics?
Well, I honestly, I'm reading up on it a lot more because I honestly feel like it's connected, because quantum physics is the research of all of the non-physical parts of science, right? And they study the tiniest particles of energy. And they have already said that the tiniest part of the particle of energy, which we're all made out of, like me, you, everything, this table, whatever, is not static. It's vibrating. So that already proves that none of us are actually static beings. We're all vibrations. So quantum physics can definitely like explain a lot of this shit. So
I think we're still at a level where science has not reached the understanding of that. But it's getting there. Probably in like 100 to 200 years.
But I hope to see strides made in our lifetime, and maybe I can be part of it. So maybe I'll become a scientist.
Gross. Yeah, on the note of vibrating and energies and stuff like that, the same reason, like when you come across someone who's like, I don't know, like you're like, I don't like this person for some reason. I'm not judging, but I feel this off vibe.
Yeah. I always feel off vibes.
Why? Right? And then I don't. So nowadays, when that happens, I give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But then moments later, they'll do something where it's like, but it's like, why is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you mentioned, everybody has that vibration, and like we all have an electromagnetic frequency per se. Like that's what I guess yogis like, the aura, and energy channels and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Like maybe we all have an electromagnetic orb around us. Like,
did I tell you about my aura story?
No, not yet. So Joe Dispenza talks about this, where he's like, if you're depressed, your electromagnetic aura is different than someone who's vibrating on a positive and like happy level. And even when you're like excited about something or you're in love or whatever, like you have so much energy, right? Why is that? You're the same as you were yesterday in terms of like, I don't know, like diet wise, sleep wise. Like if you take the same person and put them in the same thing, but they're in love or whatever, you can't even go to sleep. That's how much energy you have. Versus someone who's depressed, he can't even wake up.
Right.
So it's like, why is that? Like, sure, on a physiological level, but there's more to it than we understand in that regard. But when you think about it in that sense of, yourself, like even when you're down or whatever, you can charge yourself up again. Like if you do some, I don't know, ecstatic dance or like workout or whatever, you're shifting your frequency and the way you're vibrating, the way your brain's frequency is functioning, and that in turn changes your whole body chemistry. So it's all like connected, from energy to cells to organs to hormones. So when people are like, where they try to pinpoint and make everything seem so black and white, it's like, why are you unhappy? Here, take this pill. It's like, no, man, there's so many different factors to this. Like you can't just paint a broad brush stroke and like, this is gonna fix you. It's like, no, you probably have childhood trauma. You probably have ways of perception. Like how are you tackling these things? Is your diet good? Are you sleeping enough? Are you healthy in terms of like taking care of your meat vehicle? It's like, no. And then you're expecting to heal from a fucking pill? Like, come on.
Of course. Everything has energy, for sure. That's like, I feel like that's enough proof to, that's how I always describe it to people when I talk about energy. I'm like, okay, how do you feel vibes? Everyone feels vibes. Like you enter a room, you can feel a certain vibe. You meet certain people, you can feel vibe. You're not touching them. They might be quiet, not doing much, but you feel vibes. And like that's enough to know that there's something non-physical happening here. So I
mean, there might be some visual cues as well, like that we understand on the subconscious level from growing up and understanding, okay, if this person is your arm,
that will be what they try to
but
say.
At the same time, like you said, there's another layer to it too, right? So what were you gonna bring up? Energy reading.
Well, that's part of it, but so when you're in Vancouver, you should go see my energy reader, because basically I went to her. You should totally see her. You can take a gram soul, but she reads auras, and I swear she's so good. But she basically told me my aura color. And then she talked a lot about like my aura, whatever, when I was in Vancouver. I've seen her multiple times, but this year, spring of this year, I went on a company retreat to Sedona, which is like spiritual haven there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then we stayed at this resort called Enchantment Resort, which is also like a very spiritually driven place. And I did a Reiki healing session there. It was good, but it was really expensive, and the whole retreat was great. I went on a bunch of hikes. I saw vortexes. It was wonderful, but I didn't really have, like, I was so excited to go.
You weren't enlightened.
Yeah, I wanted to like have like a big spiritual moment or something, and I wasn't really, I know. So those are expectations, and no, but I was okay. I was like, you know what? I had a great time, and the next day I was gonna go home. So I was about to go to our last dinner at the resort, and then, but on my way to dinner, I was walking by the lobby, and then I saw that they were doing this like aura field presentation session at the library or the spa library, and I was like, it was $5, and I was like, okay, well, this is cheaper than the $300 I pay for Reiki, so maybe I'll just go check it out because it was starting right now. And so I ran there, and I was expecting like a class full of students, and there would be like a teacher talking about auras, but when I got there, it was just me, this older lady, and the presenter. So I was like, whoa, okay. But then she ended up bringing out an aura imaging machine. So that's like a thing. And she was like, okay, so usually if it's like more people, I only pick like one student to do the demonstration on, but since it's just you two, I'll just do it for both of you. You can't keep the report unless you pay, but I will go through everything with you. So she pretty much gave us like an aura imaging session, and I won't get into like the details of it, but it was crazy because I put my hand on it, a bunch of colors came, and in my head I was like, it was still fresh in my memory because I recently went to my energy reader in Vancouver, so I remember everything she said, what my colors were, like what I was.
So you were able to make some correlations.
Yeah, and then I didn't say anything because I wanted to see if like what she would say. Right. And then when I first put my hand on, like a bunch of colors came and it stopped. And then at first I was a little bit disappointed because the colors I saw wasn't the color I was remembering. But then she was like, but then the first thing that the girl said, she was like, okay, so basically I saw a lot of yellow and green, and then but then the woman, she was like, okay, your base aura color is orange, and I was like, oh, that's what my energy reader said. So it wasn't on the screen, but it was the same color, and then she started saying everything, like some phrases almost word to word. Like I was getting goosebumps because she was saying so many of the same things, and they couldn't have like talked to each other or known me at all, right?
Meanwhile, under the table, she's like texting me.
But then it was
crazy. Do you know
crazy.
Ariel Niu? Orange.
I know. But it was honestly crazy, and then like she explained the colors I saw, yellow and green, meant like transformation, evolution, and change. She was like, that's what you're currently going through. Like it's showing like what your current colors are.
Where can I buy this measurement?
I know, I want to buy it. Yo, I want to see if people. I don't know. Not the acronym on Amazon. But anyways, it was crazy because like she gave me the whole report, and then I was like, this is so no matter what, it was just like a good affirmation for me because she really like a lot of the things my energy reader said in Vancouver and the things she said were tied to like things I was working on in my life. So it was really like a good sign of encouragement, and they were both aligned on what they said to me. So I just felt really good about it, and it was the moment I was waiting for in Sedona. So
and even in that situation, like the fact that it motivated you, and like even let's say it wasn't true, but the fact that it guides you on that path where it leads you to still do what you would have done if it was like real. What's real then? Okay, and then the other thing I got when I was on the psychedelic trips, another message I remember laughing about is I would start laughing because I was like, oh my god, so funny, because fortune tellers, tarot cards, like all these like, you know, how do you even say all these like fortune telling methods, I was laughing because it's not because they're fake or false. Some of them are scammers, obviously, but it's I think a story about one, I'll tell you. Okay, you tell me after. But I think I realized, and maybe this is true or not, but I think it is true, it was like I got this message that like everything, if it's a good tarot card reader or a good fortune teller or whatever, I'm actually like telling her what to say to me from my higher self. Like she's sensing things coming from me. Like none of it is external people like telling me. It's all me
putting my energy to them to receive it back to me. It's like a way for me to just reinforce things to my own self. So like I remember laughing about that because I was like, oh my God, I'm just using other people to tell me what I really already know deep down.
Right.
Yeah, I remember getting that message. So
there's actually a Radio Lab podcast in that regard, in terms of like usually people already know what the answers to their problems and things are, but they just need to hear it from an external source. So they do an experiment where it's like a VR thing, and you go in, you put a headset on, and you see yourself in a mirror, and then you tell them what your problems are.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the VR thing shifts, and you see yourself in front of you, like repeating what you just said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you're Sigmund Freud now, like.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to give yourself advice.
Really?
Now. Yeah.
Yo,
and
that's
then,
so cool.
And then people actually give themselves advice, and they literally resolve their own issues.
Yeah.
But that's like the power of the mind in that regard, where if you keep everything in your head and it's always internal, unless you meditate on it, unless you go dive deep and express all these things and externalize them in one way or another, and then digest and analyze everything, it's hard to solve things.
Yeah.
So that goes to show, like,
that's so cool. I want to try this.
Just record yourself or talk to yourself in the mirror. Or talk to yourself in the mirror. Be like, Ariel, I got some problems.
Ariel,
come on, hire yourself, Ariel.
That's true though. I was gonna say something on that note about like talking to yourself.
Yeah, because not a lot of people do that, in the sense where they let. So, for example, when I was in a rut in my life, like this was a long time, maybe 10 years ago, I was going through some darker times. And I started doing guided meditations. And what I noticed was when I calmed my mind, the solutions to my problems would come to the surface. Mm-hmm. Like the thoughts, it's like, you need to do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. But because I was so caught up in all the static and like the noise of everything, those solutions were harder to establish. But once you get into that state, like you said, it might be your higher self or the collective consciousness, whatever it is, I knew what to do and I did it. And then that's what kind of got me on that momentum. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm changing as a person because of what? Just lying down in bed for an hour listening to a guy being like, all right, now relax, breathe. Now imagine your higher self. Like, you know, like, what is that? But it changes you as a person. It's so easy, but it sounds kind of crazy, but at the same time it works.
Yeah, no,
so
it works. Like, for sure. Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, I just remembered it when you started talking and now I forgot it again. Oh my god. About how it's effective when you I think I did like a vlog about this before. I think it is true, because think about it, when you see other people having problems, it's so easy for you to
give advice.
Yo, I always love like getting to other people's business. I'm like, I know exactly what you need to do
so you
to
got
solve
problems.
all your life problems.
You got problems.
But when the same problems are on yourself, it's so much harder. Yeah.
But no, your judgment becomes clouded, right?
Yeah.
And that's one, like what we touched on in the beginning. It's like when you practice what you preach and you step outside of your own perspective and like you step outside and see yourself from an outside person, it becomes much easier too. Right. But getting to that state where you're so like that level of introspection and self-awareness is like you need to excel at that.
Yeah.
In order to be able to step out.
Right. Tell me your scam fortune telling story.
Yeah. So when was this? This was when I was in like college. I was just curious, to be honest. I was going through like a little rut, and then I kept. On my bus ride home, I kept passing by, and this was like near Pape and Danforth area, and there was always this house with a giant palm reading sign, neon palm reading sign on it.
Is that close to me? On Adelaide?
No, it's like Danforth area, Pape. So one day I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go in. Like I was like, the need to like, just not the need, the curiosity.
Yeah.
So it was nighttime. I hopped off the bus earlier than my stop, much earlier actually. I go knock on the door, and so I'm standing there and I'm like, what am I doing? And that was the same thing, I was just curious. So I was deep into all the meditation and everything, and I was researching all the chakra, energy channels and all that kind of stuff. It was maybe like 8 years ago, if not more than that, 10 years maybe. So I think it was like a European woman opens the door, and she's a pretty large woman. She opens the door, and there's like 2 pugs, and like her family's in the living
really?
room. Yeah, her parents, I guess. And she tells them, she's like, "Hi, can I help you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here for a palm reading or whatever it is that you do here." And like, just give me a reading. So she tells everybody to go downstairs, and then we sit in like the dining room area. So she pulls out her table, crystal ball, tarot cards, whatever, and then she tells me, she's like, $20 for the crystal ball, $10 for a palm reading, and like it was like $5 for something else. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going all in, $20. So she's like, put your hands on the crystal ball, make 3 wishes, tell me
That's
2.
That's already sounding like a scam. Why are you making wishes?
So yeah, and then tell me 2 of them. So whatever, I made 3. I don't even remember what they were. It's like, I don't know, health, wealth, and like, I don't know, love and success.
What everyone
like
wishes
everybody
for.
wishes for. And then so she's looking at me. She's like, I can tell you're a very hard worker. And I'm like, I just came from work. I look tired as fuck. Like, sure. And yeah, I think this was like when I first started working, actually.
Okay.
So it was after college. And she's like, you're going to get raise. And I was like, nice. Like everybody usually gets. She's like, not big one, maybe little one. And I was like, okay, nice.
Okay.
Why not big one? How can I get big one? And then she's like, okay. She's like, you have 2 women in your life. And I was like, She's like, one is pulling you one way, the other one's pulling you this way. She's like, do you have a girlfriend? And I was like, nope. And at the time, like, I wasn't seeing anyone. I was just like, oh, nope. And then, so she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yep. And she's like, but I see 2 female energies in your life. I was like, nope. And then maybe my mom, I don't know.
Your mom or your sister?
Yeah, maybe, but like from a relationship standpoint, I guess my mom, but and then so this is when it got weird. She looked at me and she's like, you're blocking my connection. And she's like, your defenses are up, I can't read you. And she got like very aggressive all of a sudden.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And she's like, I'm going to close my eyes and you have to drop your barriers. And I was like, okay. So she closed her eyes and I'm just sitting there like, barriers, drop. Barriers, drop. And I was like, how, what am I supposed to do here? She's like, are you ready now? I'm like, yes, I'm ready now. And then so she starts reading again, and then she's like, okay. She's like, you've been to a psychic before, and I'm like, no, I haven't. And then I was like, okay, this is going south real quick. And then so she's like, okay, there's not much more I can tell you or whatever. She's like, you're not being too open. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, no worries. She's like, but you have been to a psychic before. I'm like, nope. Like, I swear to God, I haven't. This is the first time. And then so she's like, also your chakras. She's like, your throat chakra is 75% blocked. And then she started like labeling it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And at the time, I think I was getting sick too. I'm like, yeah, my throat chakra is 75% blocked with sickness. But I was like, and then she's like, if you want to come $300 session, I fix clear chakra energies for you. I'm like, okay, have a nice night. Thank you so much for your readings. So yeah, that was my psychic reading.
Oh, okay, no, you definitely
I went to a bullshit one.
Yeah, you got a little one in Vancouver, trust me. She's so good. When you go to Vancouver, I will refer you.
If I wanted to go, now I'm not too keen because apparently, like, if you dive into that kind of stuff here.
Yeah, you got to do it with some caution because I go to her a lot, but then the last time I went to her, I realized, because the last time I went to her, she pretty much told me the same things as the previous time I went to her. Yeah. So I realized, you got to balance. Everything in life is balance. You have to.
I mean, you can't put all of your life expectations in the hands of someone else. Because if they tell you something negative and you believe in that, it might manifest in reality. If they tell you something positive, it works both ways. And at the same time, I've heard other people saying like, oh, you can open up, I don't know, like entry points for like negative energy and stuff like that, right? If you're knocking on those doors and you're not ready for that kind of stuff. it's not the best idea to dive. And in most religious scriptures and stuff like that, all that's forbidden for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
Because A, you're knocking on doors that you shouldn't be knocking on, and B, it can change the trajectory of your life in a more negative way.
For sure.
Where it might...
And if you come across someone bad and then they actually do have some sort of like powers or whatever, it's harmful for you
well,
too.
curses and all that kind of stuff. Like apparently, like back in the day, when someone puts a curse on you and then they tell you you've been cursed, if you believe it, you're gonna feel like you're fucking cursed.
So I think
everything
that's the key.
that negatively happens to you, you're gonna associate with that curse, and then you're gonna keep sinking deeper and deeper.
And I totally believe that, because again, I actually believe fortune tellers, even if they're real, they're really just channeling you, like what you know, and they have the ability to. So no matter what they say, if you choose to believe it and choose to just focus on it, you will manifest it. So you gotta, either you're a very strong character and you don't go too often, you just take it with a grain of salt and you continue living your life, or don't go. But I feel like you can go. Next time you're in Vancouver.
I'm just gonna stare. I'm gonna stare in the mirror and just talk to myself.
No,
I am see what we gotta do next.
Not the same.
My higher self needs to talk to me. But any book recommendations? Like, and what's the most? What's the most influential things that I guess you can expose to people watching and listening?
So much. So much knowledge I can share.
Your channel.
Oh, for my channel. So influential things. Well, basically what I was talking about. If you're looking for some self-development, spiritual content, but in a fun, humorous, relatable manner. Yeah, like Russell Brand, but not, but like New Views style. Come to my channel. New Views, _views on Instagram, and then New Views on YouTube.
VIEWS.
Yes, no.
But I'll put the links up on the description.
Yes, please. Yes.
All right, this is gonna be the first of many podcasts, I feel like.
Okay, yes, hopefully, because I have a lot more to say.
Do you have anything more to add right now, or do you want to wrap it up?
Just everyone, remember, we're entering a new year. Okay, let's end this on it. This is 2019.
Let's do this.
We're in the last few days of 2019, and I was just talking about this with some of my other friends too. 2020 is a big year, you guys. It's a new decade, and I feel it. I feel the energy coming, and I think it's going to be a big year. What are you saying?
There's only the now.
There is only the now. But the now is going to get amazing this year.
Get up off your ass and do whatever you want to do right now.
Yeah, but I swear, I feel it. I think 2020 is a year of big things. So everyone use it to your benefit, and always remember, be conscious and aware, and be present and intentional with everything you do. Be intentional,
that takes
and like
practice.
it takes practice, and like what he said, everything is only now. The past and the future does not exist. You only ever live in the now.
Well, it does exist, but it doesn't exist in terms of the decisions and where you're...
But no, it doesn't exist, because it exists in
It can influence your learning experiences, but it not in terms of your perception of reality. Every action that you take is going to be now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you're dwelling on the past does exist, because it's your history, like where you came. But it doesn't exist in the sense where people think of it as like, okay, I'm being influenced to a point where it's changing me as a person in now. You have control over that.
I mean, like, you can only ever live in the now.
100%. So every choice that you make right now is now. Like, so if you want to go to the gym or want to do anything, you got to do it now.
You got to do it now.
Even tomorrow when you wake up, it's still going to be now.
It's still going to be now.
Even in 2020, like she said, it's still going to be now.
It's going to be now. And everything is about habitual routine. Like, if you want to get better, you got to just keep doing it. You got to put yourself, and it's only ever you. Don't blame other people. It's only ever you. Just do you. Do you. Do you. Be true to you, from you to you.
Tiramisu. Follow me on Instagram.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Appreciate it.
It was really fun.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Like, subscribe, share.